Hi, Rosie here from Rosie Makes Jam in Rutland, UK. I'm just going to talk to you today about a piece of kit that I've had for a while now that I absolutely love. It is my far and away most favourite piece of kit in my arsenal of preserving tools, and that is my dehydrator. I've got a 9-tray square dehydrator. I couldn't bring it to show you because it's actually kind of wired into the kitchen, but I've got the trays here. It'll give you a sense of the size of the trays, and they all slot in, and then the door goes on the front and you can dry just about anything that you can think of. Preserving is a funny thing. You have an ingredient and then you need to really look at how you want to end up using it. What is the most appropriate storage for it? And freezing is great, but it doesn't always suit some things. It takes up a lot of room. I do find with the dehydrating it's very versatile, and you can end up with lots of things that you can use quite imaginatively. And it's not all about sort of drying apple rings and things like that. Now take yogurt for instance. Who would have thought that you could dry yogurt? I make my own yogurts in the sort of thermos flask method. All of the things that I show you are on my blog.rosiemakesjam.com, and you can search in the extensive library of methods and so on. But I've got some here in a tub, and basically to dry it, I've got parchment silicone paper on the tray, lined the tray, because obviously it would drop through the mesh otherwise, and you just spoon it onto the tray. I'm not going to do very much of it, but I'll just show you, and then just basically spread it. You don't do that. You spread it so that it's sort of an even thickness, and you don't want it too thin actually, because there's such a lot of moisture in it, water in it, that it will dry out very, very thin and crispy. So you spread it like that, and you can then dry it. When it's dry, it will be, as I say, thin and crispy, and then you can break it all up and store it as a powder, which is completely stable. So if you go walking or camping or something like that, you've got a very good product there that can just be in your camper van or whatever and just be reconstituted as you need it. It doesn't need refrigeration. And then you can mix in flavours to it, fruit, jam, whatever you like. So that's one way of using the yoghurt, or keeping the yoghurt for a longer period of time without refrigeration. You could also, if you've got children or grandchildren, you can just drop little buttons of yogurt onto the paper. I'll just do a row of them. And then just use some fruit. I've got raspberries here, and put on the top, and then dehydrate them all together, and then you've got some sort of little fruity yogurt, sweets almost, but much more healthy. It's just yogurt and fruit, and again quite a nice thing to have in a jar that you can offer, and they dry out quite nicely. So that's the yogurt. I've got some other things. Oh, also the other thing you can do with the yogurt, which isn't to do with the dehydrator, but this is when you've made the yogurt, you can then make Labneh Cheese, which is a Middle Eastern cheese which is kept in oil and herbs, and it is unbelievably delicious. It's very simple to make. You strain the yogurt in a jelly bag over a jug overnight to drain out some of the moisture in it, and then you mix it with sea salt and chopped herbs and maybe some lemon zest. Roll it into balls and just put it on your paper and leave it overnight to firm up in the chill in the fridge, and then you drop it into a jar with olive oil and bay leaves and oregano and things like that, and it is just delicious. It keeps for a very long time like that and makes the most delicious lunch with just a ball of the cheese and a few crackers or something like that and some bits of salad. It really, really impressive. So that's another yogurty tip. The other things I've got here that you might not think of dehydrating, because we always think of fruit leather, or as I say, apple slices, things like that. This is hummus. So if you make a standard hummus mix, but instead of using olive oil in it, use tahini, and then you spread it on just like I've done with the yogurt, in strips on the trays, dehydrate it, and then it will crumble and be stored like that, and then you can reconstitute just as much as you need. You don't have to buy a tub in the supermarket and then eat it up. You can just make enough for lunch and enjoy it, and that's it. It smells lovely, quite garlicky, and so it was a couple of tins of chickpeas, some garlic and the tahini and some other seasoning whizzed together in the food processor and then spread on the sheets and dried. The other thing here is salsa. So in the summer, when you've got a glut of peppers, chili, tomatoes, onions, that sort of thing, chop it all up to make a salsa, as you would do if you were again, having it for lunch as a dip or something like that. But spread it on the sheets in the same way, same sort of size. Then you can peel it off like a leather and roll it up and keep it, and it will just stay like that. So again, if you're fond of camping or travelling, you can take it like that, and then you can reconstitute it with hot water. Just leave it to soak for about 15 minutes in a jug, and it will soften. You could use it as a base for a stew or a casserole or spaghetti bolognese or something like that. You don't have to use it as a salsa. Think about what it is. It's a tomato-based, garlicky, herby, peppery, chili mix, and you can conveniently keep it like that indefinitely because there is no moisture. You must keep it, obviously, moisture away from it until you want to use it. But I just keep them in these jars. Don't worry, these are acting props. I don't use them for people. I show them to people when I'm doing classes and so on. Finally, you may have seen I'm a great fan of growing mushrooms. The kits that you can get, which you can grow your own mushrooms, and then I dehydrate them. And this is my jar from home with dehydrated slices. So if you haven't got any fresh mushrooms, you can just chuck a couple of handfuls in a spaghetti bolognese or something, and they will reconstitute in the mix of whatever you're making, in casseroles, that kind of thing. If you want to use them in things like omelettes, you'd need to soak them and then drain them. Or once they're dehydrated like that, you can then put them in a spice grinder, if you've got one of those small grinders, and make this mushroom powder, which is super useful. I use it all the time in things like risotto, and it just gives everything a sort of mushroomy smell, and it's very, very easy to use, and it will keep like that forever. It smells amazing too as well, and I love it when the dehydrator's going and the mushrooms are drying and you get that lovely warm mushroomy smell in the room. It's fantastic. So don't just think, sweet things. There's all sorts of things you can use your dehydrator, and we do sell this model on our website. So we've got a very good price that we're offered. So do have a look at it. Okay, thank you for listening.